Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dadsigner podcast. I'm Michael Smith, your host, and today I am joined by Rocky Roark. Hey, Rocky, welcome to the show.
Hello, hello. How's it going?
It's going well. Rocky and I met face to face for the first time at Creative South this year in Georgia back in April, and so glad that you agreed to come on and tell us a bit about your story. So yeah, explain to folks if they don't know who you are, what you do, and a bit about your family.
Yep. Well, I'm Rocky Roark. I have been a designer for over 20 years. I'm not even that old. I'm only 34 years old, and yet been designing for that long. I've been a branding designer, web designer, illustrator, product designer, reluctantly, very shortly, graphic designer. You name it, I probably have done it at some point. And for the last almost 10 years, it's 9 years, I think, right now, I've been running my design studio called Blue Cyclops. We do branding and web design, illustration, and brand strategy stuff. And I have a beautiful wife and a 2-year-old goblin at home. I just started calling him Goblin because he is going through those terrible twos, and it's close to me pulling my hair out. I mean, even like if you're watching this, there's some gray hairs up here over the last 2 years because he is a handful for sure.
Well, at least the hair is still hanging on. I wear a hat almost every day because the same could not be said for my head. But yeah, 2 years old. How's he sleeping?
Not good.
How are you
um
sleeping?
I sleep fine. It's my wife. I feel bad for my wife. I am one of those people who I can knock out easily, and I cannot be woken up easily. I have literally slept through tornado sirens before. That's how deep of a sleeper I am. And so my wife is the one that unfortunately has to get up in the middle of the night to take care of our son. And lately, it's a 50-50 shot if he's going to go down peacefully or if he is going to scream and carry on, and then my wife basically has to take him into our guest room and go to sleep with him. So it's yeah, it. I wish it was more so the former than the latter, but yeah.
Yeah. Um, those days are very difficult. I recall them well. One of the things that is interesting with bedtime specifically, I don't get heated, like I physically feeling heated by many things. Like kids are kids or whatever. But when they whine at bedtime, when I've already let them stay up late, for some reason, that is the thing that gets under my skin so much, where I struggle to control myself to be like, it's just time because I want to go to bed. So you need to go to bed.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think for me it's not so much that he doesn't want to go to bed. It's that I just know that my wife will have to just stop what she's doing and go to bed right then at that moment. And so we don't get like that last bit of like hour or so of just like us time. And I'm like, oh, come on, kiddo. Like go to sleep, please. And so it's like we literally have to sometimes he'll go down straight just for me. Like I go and put him to bed, he knocks out perfectly fine. Other times it has to be both of us. Sometimes it's just my wife. We're constantly changing the bedtime routine. And he actually goes to bed between 9 and 10 o'clock at night. He has to have complete darkness in his
Mm,
room in order to fall asleep.
which makes it hard in the summer.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, how long were you and your wife together before you had him?
We have been together since 20 August 2015, so we're almost at 10 years, and we've been married for 6 years. Yes, over 6.5 years now, and we had him 2 years ago. So we were together for about close to 8 years
Yeah.
at the time.
You get into your own rhythms and then they get disrupted. Yeah. And yeah, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about that you just recently wrapped up mostly, maybe it's completely complete now, is your 30-day brand challenge on Blue Cyclops. So back in the late spring, early summer, you kind of did a refresh on your website and then went in and decided to revisit the whole shebang. So tell us a bit about that project, why you did it, what you learned, and yeah, how the outcome is coming out.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest reasons why I even decided to do it was I needed some sort of side project to take my mind off of just trying to fill our lead pipeline. You know, the stresses of trying to get new leads coming in, new clients, new projects. And so I was like, okay, I don't have a ton of client work right now. I need to just find something in order to just like keep me active and keep me creative. But then I also need something that I can create content from because up until I think it was right after Creative South, I wasn't really posting much content. I wasn't engaging as much. Like I would post on LinkedIn or Twitter, and I still call it Twitter. I would post on those platforms like, you know, a couple times a week, but I wasn't posting on Instagram. I wasn't posting on YouTube or TikTok or anything. And in April, I had a good talk with a friend of mine from Creative South. His name's Alan Smith. And he convinced me, he was like, listen, I'm a big guy. You're a big guy. We can't be self conscious about posting content and everything. We just need to do it. And from that day on, I think I've probably posted almost every day, except for maybe a dozen or so times, or when I've been sick or on vacation. And I wanted to have something that would be fuel for content. And so the challenge was just like an obvious choice because for years I have slowly created my brand for Blue Cyclops, slowly creating the logo, creating badges and color palettes and websites. The amount of websites I've created for Blue Cyclops is insane. And I figured taking the time to actually revisit things all the way down to the like the strategy behind it to, you know, creating a cohesive brand system, it would be great content. People would love to see it. And it would also give me better insight into my brand as a whole. So technically, it was more than 30 days. It was probably like 45 days. The days leading up to the challenge, I was posting content, sharing the strategy behind it. The days that I was actually in the trenches, you know, creating everything. Originally, I think my goal was to end July 2nd, and I think I ended July 9th or 10th or something. And that's because I took vacation. I got sick at one point during the whole process and everything. But I shared that the entire way through and people loved it. Like people were really enjoying the content. I didn't go viral. I was trying to, you know, I was inspired by was it Sailing Phoenix, you know, the guy who sailed from Portland all the way to Hawaii, and he was just constantly every single day he was like, I'm sailing from Portland to Hawaii with my cat. And so I was doing, you know, today is day 17 of rebuilding my brand completely in public. Like I was just posting that every single day. Even if I didn't even have anything to show, I would still try and post something or talk about, okay, what am I going through? What's my thought process? Am I stuck? Do I have creative block? And it would just completely go from there. And I need to go back and actually see how many videos I created during that time, but I think it had to have been at least 50
Yeah.
videos. Yeah.
I did notice that the word completely got more intense
Yeah, it would be
as we
like
went further into the
today is
challenge.
it is day 30 of rebuilding my brand completely in public. Yeah, it just I just started doing that when I was really big on posting on Instagram many years ago when I had like a much bigger following than I do today. I would always do my Instagram stories every single day without fail, and it would be, you know, good morning Instagram family, hope you guys are having a great day. I am doing this, I am doing that, and everything. And so I have this like natural like radio announcer type voice, and it would just naturally come out. And so even when I'm doing these the most boring reel ever, I was like, okay, how can I spice this up a little bit to get people to keep listening? Okay, I'll just, you know, enunciate a bit more, or, you know, I'll try and do a little couple crazy things. I think in one video even, I accidentally knocked over something off to the side. And I literally was like, oh, whoops. But yeah, it was definitely fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also enjoyed how you engaged with people along the way, which I know is another avenue for content is to take the things that people are already asking. But I had asked a question at one point. I can't remember if it was publicly or DM, but you took it and you ran with it as like, I'm going to answer this question, which is always, you know, it's always good to acknowledge the other
Mm-hmm.
people. But it was cool to see not only were you posting and coming up with your own ideas, you were using some of the stuff and the questions people were asking. I think Brad from Piedmont did ask a question as well, and you answered his. And so, how much of that was helpful to generate more content, and how much of that was just kind of like, no, I really do want to engage with the community and kind of build this totally in public.
Yeah, I think that was very early on in the actual challenge too. I think it was like within the first week or two. And I think those were the only two videos like that that I did where I
Okay.
actually responded, because I don't think a lot of it was necessary. There wasn't like people asking as many questions like openly. But I tried to sneak in, like if somebody like DM'd me, which quite a few people did, if somebody DM'd me and they asked me like a specific question about like process or something, the next video I would inject a little bit of that into there. I wouldn't necessarily call them out or give them a shout out or make a specific video for it. In hindsight, I probably should have done more of those types of videos. I think I just got lost in the moment at trying to go through and create all that content. And I might even go back through, in the next couple of weeks and just, if I need some extra content, I'll see if somebody asks like a good question in one of those reels, and I might post like a response video, even though it'll be like 3 weeks, 4 weeks past when they
Yeah.
asked it. So,
What how long did it take on average to make a reel?
you'd be surprised. Sometimes it was very short.
Okay.
Sometimes it was like, because what I would do is, and I unfortunately my camera is not going to pick this up, but I have off to the side here a an arm with like a camera mount. I can take the camera mount off, but I have like this like just like a little camera mount here, and then I have my DJI little mic set up, and I plug it into my phone. I'd set it up, and I would just pull the arm over right in front of me, and I would just think about a topic or think about something that I'm currently going through, and just start talking to the camera just like that. And so sometimes the actual like recording process was however long the video was. So like could be 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is. The editing was probably the longest, and that was just on the phone, on my phone, using, was it CapCut, just using that to edit the video and add the captions. And a lot of times, especially like the more I made those reels, the less I ended up cutting things out. I find myself cutting more, with videos I'm making outside of the challenge than actually in. And so that really helped out. Sometimes there would be like a time lapse video where I would do the same thing. I would have the arm set up and it would just be facing my screen, and it would just record for, I think the longest I recorded was like 3 hours of me working on illustrations for the brand. And then I would go and bring those into CapCut, change the speed of them and everything to kind of go through. But honestly, could be as quick as 5 minutes to do a video to as much as like 45 minutes to an hour, just depending on what it is and if I need to like find assets, record extra clips and stuff like that.
Nice. And in the end, twofold question. One, are you how are you feeling about what you ended up with? And two, did you get more leads?
So one, I am actually very happy with where it came out. There was probably some areas I wish I would have spent a little bit more time on. I had spent so much time figuring out what all I needed to create, and over 75% went out the window. Just because it would have taken me like 90 days in order to do the amount of stuff. And it just didn't make sense because I didn't really need all that stuff. And so I was able to kind of like remove things. But there are some things I wish I had more time for. Right now, I'm working on implementing all the stuff to the website, which is a headache, but it's it's something I'm going to have to create more assets for anyway, and I'll probably have to create content for that as well. But in terms of the second question, um, I don't think that I have any leads that it naturally brought forth, but it definitely increased awareness for myself and for my brand. Like I saw a lot more people signing up for my lead magnet. I saw a lot more people signing up for my newsletter in general for both Blue Cyclops and then my freelancer newsletter, which is called Green Cyclops. And so I was definitely seeing a lot more signups there, seeing a lot more followers. In fact, during the course of the challenge, for the first time in years, I saw an increase in followers on Instagram.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because I've had negative followers or continuously goes down every single day. And so this was the first time where I actually had a span of, I think, like 2 or 3 weeks where it was actually positive until certain posts I did caused it to kind of go down.
Yeah, I wasn't
So,
going to bring
yeah.
that up.
Yeah, like one
I,
post got minus 79 followers in a day. Another one got minus, was it 46 in one day or something like that? It's crazy.
yeah, yeah, we won't go into the nitty gritty of that. It's stupid.
Yep.
But yeah, like in addition to doing this challenge, can't remember if this was before we hit record or while we were recording. You took a vacation, you spent more time with your family. How was all of that?
That was really good. So that was towards the end of the challenge. Honestly, like at that point, the majority of everything was kind of created. It was ready to go. I could have stopped the challenge right there and been fine with everything that I created, but I still wanted to show more and, share like, okay, this is how the final result ended up and everything. But I ended up taking almost a week off for 4th of July and got to spend the entire time with my family. I think there was only one day where I think I went to the movies with my mom or something. And, otherwise it was me, my son, and my wife pretty much every single day. And it was so great because the one thing as a working dad, because my wife is a stay-at-home mom, I made the decision like when after our son was born, I told her, you don't ever have to work again. You can be a stay-at-home mom. I want you to enjoy this. I want you to see him grow, help him grow, because growing up I was raised in a single parent household and I never saw my mom. Like she was always working, trying to provide. We were poor, to say the least. And I wanted to make sure that my son got to at least be with one of his parents all the time. And so she's been able to see him grow up and be there for so many moments. I unfortunately have missed a lot of that. I at least got to, see him walk for the first time. I've, been there enough to where I've seen like certain, accolades and milestones happen. But at the same time, like there's so many photos that I have on this frame behind me and then at home that basically like it's just her and him. I'm not in those photos. And so being able to spend that week with them, with my son, it was magical, and it gave me so much joy to just be able to spend that time. And it makes me wish that I could spend more time with them, but at the same time I want to make sure that they have an amazing life and they don't have to worry about things. So
Yeah, and so I'm assuming then your office. I think I already know the answer to this question, but your office is outside of your house.
yes. Yeah, so I have my home studio. I get up at 5 a.m. every morning, 5:30 every morning. And as soon as I get up, I head down, let the dogs out, and then I spend probably the next 2 to 4 hours in the studio. Basically, if my wife and son don't wake up before 9 o'clock, uh, then I stay down there until they wake up. And so I start hearing a baby rhino running across the floor above me. And so I'm working 2 to 4 hours each morning in the studio. just on one little laptop screen. I don't have dual monitors. I've got 3 monitors in my office here. And then once I go upstairs, I'm with them for anywhere between 1 to 3 hours, just like spending time watching Bluey, watching Cars, which we've watched at least 100 times by now because that's my son's favorite movie. My wife will make breakfast, we'll talk. Usually there's some sort of yelling or commotion going on, and everything, but it's just like a nice family time that we have, and everything. And then around anywhere between 10 and noon is when I head into the office. And I'm in here for anywhere from 3 hours to as much as 8 hours, depending on when I come in, how much work I have to do, and everything. But it's only a 20-25 minute drive from home. So it's not too crazy. It's not, in the city. We live about 40 minutes from Atlanta. And so we luckily don't have to worry too much about like the traffic or anything. I take all back roads. It's so easy.
Yeah. Atlanta is insane. Um,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah. But that's really cool that you have that time in the mornings to
Hmm.
spend together too. My girls are usually awake before I am, and I get
Hmm.
up at 6:30.
Wow.
um, However, you did mention your son goes to bed later, much later than our girls do. So it's all relative. As long as they're getting the number of hours they need, then they're good.
Yeah. And for me, it was very strategic. Like, I have not always been an early riser. In fact, for many years, I would wake up at 8 a.m. Like, that's when I would wake up. I would start my day and then, go from there. Then last year, September, I started waking up at 6 a.m. Over the next couple of months, it went to 5 a.m. And I noticed, like, okay, I'm able to get so much stuff done in that short period of time, and then that way I can spend time with my family. And then when I go to the office or when I have to get back to work, I don't have as much work I have to do. I'm able to
Mhm.
focus on other things. And so even now, I'm at the point where sometimes I only have to be in the office for a few hours. Like, even now after this call, I could even just go home. I don't have to necessarily stay for any other amount of time.
Yeah, yeah. So different than working in like a full time office job.
Hmm.
It took me. And see, I went out on my own January of 24. It took me 6 to 9 months to unwind from that mentality that like, oh, it's 2:30 on a Tuesday. I did everything I needed to today. I could just go home.
I mean, for me, like I started Blue Cyclops in 2016 after I was fired from my design job. I was working at an agency in San Diego. And from then until I would say until we moved out to Georgia June 2021. So was that a good 5 years? I was working for myself, and then I took a job working in house for almost 2 years. We'll say 1.5 years. And I was remote though. I didn't have to be in an office, but I still like had like I have to work between this time and this time. I hated it. For one, creativity does not happen in a 9 to 5. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to be creative from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock." It just doesn't happen. You're going to come in. It's going to come in, ebbs and flows. And so to try and do that is just insane. But when I got laid off in 2022 and decided to go back to full time Blue Cyclops, it was something where it was hard. It was hard to get back into that rhythm. But, you know, by the time my son was born, I was able to do so. Like, I was able to, figure out, okay, I need to work between these hours in order to be productive and everything. But I haven't worked in an office, like an actual office setting, since 2016. I
Hmm.
could never do that again. I will never do that again. It's miserable to me.
Yeah. Is your office outside your house? Is that a shared office or is that it's like its own space?
So it's technically a co-working space, but I have a private office.
Okay.
So I have a door and everything. The private offices are actually in a separate building from the co-working space. and there's only really 4 offices up here, and so for the most part, it's usually just me and one other person, and they're like at the other end of the building. And there's many days where it's just me, and so like I'll be sitting here, I'll have like Netflix or YouTube playing a movie or something in the background, and or like I'll just be hearing the trains going by, which luckily none have gone by, knock on wood. But like it's pretty secluded and everything. And honestly, I love it. I when we had to start stripping down to lean times for the business, the non-negotiable was the office. I have to have the office because otherwise I have ADHD. I need to be able to focus. I
Mm,
can't be distracted all the time.
yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Well, yeah, one of the things I like to ask every guest is to wrap up with two questions.
Mm-hmm.
So those are, what has been your greatest parenting joy, and what has been your biggest learning as a dad?
Oh, I knew these were coming, and yet they're still hard to kind of wrap around. The greatest joy for me is just when I come home and my son like instantly sees me and he yells dad dad or daddy or something like that, and just comes running up to me and hugs me. Doesn't happen every single day, but when it does happen, it feels so good. And just especially like for the next few minutes, it's all daddy 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 daddy, and it feels so good to hear that and to see that, especially on those days where it's like this was a tough day, you know. So that's definitely something that brings me so much joy. And then what was the second one?
The biggest learning as a dad.
The biggest learning as a dad. Okay. The biggest learning lesson for me as a dad is sacrifice. Um, as a dad, as like the breadwinner of our family and everything, I have learned that I sacrifice like my time and seeing like my son grow and everything in order to make sure that he has a much better life than I ever did when I was his age. Growing up, I was always afraid that we were going to get evicted, that we weren't going to have food on the table, or like I even bribed our landlord with double rent basically so that we didn't get evicted multiple times. And I never want my son to have to worry about that. I want my son, to be able to grow up as a kid versus having to grow up when he's a kid, you know? So that's definitely one of the biggest things is like that sacrifice. And I don't regret it. I don't regret, making that sacrifice. I think it's something that it makes me stronger as a dad and as a human being for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, sharing about your family and your design work. If folks wanted to find you online or connect with you, where can they do that?
Basically everywhere it's at Rocky Roark. Website is bluecyclops.co. I don't have 7 grand for the .com, which they keep increasing the amount every time I try to buy it. Um, and if they're looking for freelance advice, greencyclops.com. That one I do own. Yeah, Rocky Roark at Rocky Roark everywhere, and bluecyclops.co, greencyclops.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be here.